It's time. Help me. Hey, what's up guys? Spacey here, and I have a cold. I really don't want to be doing this right now. Now, just to forewarn you, this review is not scripted, so if there are some weird things I say in here that just me going off on a tangent or whatever, ignore that. Please. Especially where I have a cold. It's going to be really hard to script this and follow it word for word, so I'm just going to wing it today. I'm going to wing it. So, Kong Skull Island, the re-envisioning of King Kong for the upcoming MonsterVerse, in which Kong will fight Godzilla. Please change that name. Don't call it the MonsterVerse. I honestly hate that name. Okay, off from that point though, Kong Skull Island was a really good movie. I was really surprised how well it turned out. In fact, with a lot of the reviews that I saw coming up before the movie, I was honestly scared that this movie was actually going to tank and would suck. And even with that notion in my mind, I really enjoyed this movie. Of course, if you're a sane human being, you will definitely enjoy this way more than Godzilla 2014. Seriously, for those who complained about Godzilla 2014 not having enough of the monster, being boring, you couldn't tell what was going on because it was so dark, there was no color, watch this movie. This movie is 10 times better than that movie. Now, for Shin Godzilla, I don't think it's as good as Shin Godzilla. It's definitely close to it, but, you know, Shin Godzilla, in my opinion, just the tone of that movie and the way it conveys it, even though it definitely has some glaring problems, it definitely works out for the movie in the end. It makes it pretty much a masterpiece, in my opinion. Now, I know a lot of people are not gonna like what I just said there, but, you know, whatever. But Kong Skull Island, I was fairly impressed with this movie. I'm going to try a different review style today, and I'm going to break it down by certain parts, which is something I've never done before in a movie review. That aside, let's just jump straight into the pros and cons of this movie. Forewarning though, this will be spoilery. I will spoil a lot of this movie, so, you know, if you don't want to be spoiled, GTFO! Kong Skull Island's CGI is possibly some of the most impressive CGI I've seen in a movie ever. Seriously, like, this movie's CGI is stunning. Even though, like, I can tell it's CGI because, you know, I've never seen an ape this big, and I've never seen a skull crawler. Still, though, the CGI is just, like, there's scenes that do not look fake. I mean, the amount of detail in Kong's fur, for example, like in this shot right here when you see him walking through the lake and you see all that stuff in his fur, and you see right here when he cleans the branches off that tree, man, there's so much detail in that fur, and you can't distinguish it from real life. It looks real. Now, there is one scene that just looks unbearably bad. It's the scene where Brie Larson's character, I honestly don't remember her name. You know, I'm gonna Google it. Alright, we're gonna Google it. Kong Skull Island. They don't even have it listed! Oh, they'll have it on IMDb. You know they'll have it on IMDb. Alright. Mason Weaver, that's her name. Mason Weaver. I better write all these down so that way I can remember them for later on. But yeah, like, Mason Weaver is, like, touching Kong, and it does not look good. I mean, you can tell this is on a green screen. They did not put effort into this scene. Well, they did, but it was a lot less than the rest of the movie. I think this is where they were on the edge of the budget. That aside, the skull crawlers looked fantastic. Was not expecting them to look that good. So did all the other random creatures in the movie. I think the only other time the CGI was really bad was when they're going to the island and there's a storm. I really did not like the way that looked. That did not look real. Yet again, I just think Legendary is not good at making storms in CGI. In fact, I don't think any movie company is good at making storms in CGI. Have you seen that Geostorm trailer? Wow. Whoa. Man. Now, what else looked really good in this movie was, the color. Oh my. Wow. Jordan Vogt-Roberts, I gotta give you a point there. You did a great job on the color. The color and lighting in this movie is spectacular, especially when you compare it to the likes of 2014. Oh my god, there's no color in that movie. See, color is a very important aspect whenever making a film. Godzilla 2014 just doesn't have a whole lot of color, and it looks like shit, because there's just a bunch of browns and grays and reds, and it's not interesting to look at. You don't really care what's going on screen. It just doesn't look that good. While Kong Skull Island has this wide array of grays and reds and yellows and purples and blues and all these different colors, they come together to keep you interested in the film and to give you something that looks pretty and you're constantly paying attention to the film. And as well, it also conveys this mood of a bright, adventurous type of film. Now, there's some times when a lack of color does work, such as Shin Godzilla. I know I'm going to keep bringing up this movie throughout this review, and you're all going to tell me to stop comparing it to Shin Godzilla. Well, shut up, please. But Shin Godzilla, its lack of color works in its favor because Godzilla is a completely different color from the rest of the environment. While everything else is this drab, bland, gray, and there's this blue sky in the background, Godzilla is this bright, reddish, weird color just popping out on the screen. So you're constantly paying attention to Godzilla while he's on screen. So there's something to keep you interested in Shin Godzilla. Especially, when he does the atomic breath, the purple, it's like, oh my god, this color's never been in the movie, what the heck? So Shin Godzilla's lack of color works in its favor, while Godzilla 2014's lack of color just works blatantly against it. Kong himself in the movie is fairly entertaining. It's a big spectacle whenever he appears on screen. It's absolutely a wonder to see him, especially in this size and scale. Kong himself is just very interesting to watch, and every time he's on screen, it's just joyous. And the fact that he's actually in the movie is very entertaining. Because if you've ever watched Godzilla 2014, you already know he's in there for like 8 minutes. The plot of this movie, it just works for the movie. It's fine. It's not anything special. I'm not gonna go too much into detail because I don't want to spend 5 minutes explaining the plot of this movie, but it works for what the movie is. The soundtrack for the movie, it's decent. It's definitely not. It's not like mwah, like Shin Godzilla is, but it's better than 2014's. It fits Kong more. Like, I feel like this is a Kong soundtrack, even though, like, a lot of the tracks are just very generic and there's some that really do fit the mood of the movie, and I'm glad. The soundtrack was definitely better than Godzilla 2014. I just don't like that movie's soundtrack. I don't hate it, but I really just do not like that movie's soundtrack. It's generic. The theme does not fit. I really just do not like Godzilla 2014 soundtrack, and this movie's soundtrack is just better. It fits this movie, and whatever. One thing I really do gotta give this movie, though, is that this movie establishes Kong way better than Godzilla 2014 established Godzilla. I don't know why, but you feel for Kong in parts of this movie when you really don't for Godzilla in 2014. You never empathize with anything Godzilla does. You feel more for Kong. A lot of it probably has to do with the fact that you learn that he had a family and, they got slaughtered by the skull crawlers and everything. And there's this big graveyard of Kong's, basically his parents. So this movie, even though it doesn't do it greatly, it does establish an emotional connection between the viewer and Kong, and it works. I actually cared about what was going to happen once Big Mama Skullcrawler came out, and I was like, oh crap, boy, Kong gonna die? No, Kong gonna die now, boy, so God, get me in my cigarettes. I believe in the sand beneath my toes. The bitch gives a feeling. This movie's biggest glaring issue is definitely its characters and character development. While I thought Samuel L. Jackson was decent, John Goodman was okay until he died. I thought that was the most abrupt death ever. Same thing with Toby Kebbel, and I was really surprised with John C. Reilly. They actually did a decent job fleshing him out, and I was surprised by that, even though he's the comedic relief, and I didn't like the comedy that much in this movie. They really did flesh him out better than all the other characters in this movie, and I'll give him a point for that. But the characters in this movie, I didn't even remember the name of Brie Larson's character. That shows you how little I care about these characters. I mean, they're just not very... Like, I don't connect with them that much. There's nothing interesting about any of these characters except for the 4 I just mentioned. John C. Reilly, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, and Toby Kebbel. And 3 of those are because they're big A-list actors. And the other big A-list actors in this movie, such as Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson now, I didn't care about them a single bit. They were pretty much bland. I mean, they had a couple decent moments, but I just didn't care too much about them. Now, none of them are on the level of Godzilla. Godzilla 2014. Oh my god. Well, none of them are on the level of being as bad as Godzilla 2014's characters, because the character development in this movie, while it's definitely not to a level where Godzilla 2014 was, it's definitely like Shin Godzilla. You just don't care about a whole lot of the characters in the movie. Now, another complaint I have is the humor. It's not good. Now, there were like 2 or 3 lines in this movie that one got me to chuckle, and 2 of them actually got me to laugh. LOL! A lot of the humor is just, it doesn't fit in the moment that it's put in. But it's not as bad as like Suicide Squad. Oh my god, I wanted to jump off a bridge after hearing some of the jokes in that movie. God. This movie also suffers from like just things that don't make sense, like continuity errors. Like, Kong is this big strong ape, right? How does boat chains hold him down? And pardon me when I say continuity errors, I meant plot holes. Another plot hole, as far as I can tell, is there's this whole part of the movie where they're trying to get to this helicopter at part of the island to get weapons, right? So when they're walking through the graveyard, how do they get a 50 cal machine gun and set it up? I have no clue. That is beyond me. Unless they show it earlier on in the movie before they say that, I don't know. I really just don't know. Like I complained earlier, the soundtrack is very generic. I would have liked something better, but you know, it works for the movie. It's fine. And the ending, while I don't think it's horrible, but this is just a small complaint I have, is they end on zooming in on Kong's eye, playing this like more menacing soundtrack. It doesn't make sense with the tone of the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, you're supposed to be rooting for Kong and like, yay, Kong, save the day and whatnot. And you play this menacing soundtrack as if Kong is the antagonist. It makes 0 sense. And then we have the post-credits scene. This was definitely thrown in there after the movie was made. I'm just saying. The post-credits scene is bad. It's actually like probably one of the worst things in this movie. Other than the character development, this post-credits scene was awful. I'm not going to lie. One, it doesn't make any sense because Weaver and Conrad are being interrogated by the same people they were on the island with. What? It doesn't make any sense. And then, you know, you gotta tie it in with Godzilla, guys. You gotta tie it in with Godzilla. So they show them cave paintings of Godzilla and Mothra and Rodan and King Ghidorah. My god. Like, seriously, the end credits scene just, it ticks me off. It is beyond stupid. And even though I feel like Legendary is definitely doing a better job than DC is at their universe building, probably primarily because there's only really 2 characters they're introducing into this as the main events of this universe, it's still like, I just don't like that end credit scene. It feels so out of left field, and I think it should not have been in the end credits. I really think they should have ended the movie there, where Kong turns around and the stupid music plays, and that's it. That should have been the end of the movie. Not this silly willy end credit scene where they show a cave painting of Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah with a bunch of suited men standing in front of them. Oh my god. It is beyond stupid. What's ironic is that this is supposed to tease Godzilla King of the Monsters, when we kind of already knew that these characters were going to be in the movie. I mean, we weren't definitely for sure because of the director change, but we knew they were going to be in the movie more than likely. So this entire tease, we already know it's in the same universe. It's stupid. Give us like Ga or something. I don't know. Whatever give us like a Kong monster or a Godzilla monster like emerging from the ocean or whatever. Give us something different. something that's not something we already got. Now, while I'll say it's definitely not as bad as Suicide Squad's end credits scene, or Batman vs. Superman having its end credits scene in the middle of the freaking movie, it was definitely just a dumb end credits scene. I was not pleased by it whatsoever. It was half-baked, it was stupid, it was clearly added in at the last minute just to tie everything together in a nice little package. I really wish we got something else, like maybe a monster that we know coming out of the water or something else, so something like that. But about the end credits scene, yeah, it's retarded. Above all, this movie is very entertaining, and I enjoyed this movie to death. I really, so far, other than Logan, this is probably one of my favorite movies of 2017. Of course, my opinion will change through the year. I'm keeping an eye out on Dunkirk, but I was very impressed by this movie, and I really do recommend this to even fans of not Kong, but kaiju fans, whoever wants to watch this movie, just watch it. Don't let my opinion hold you back. Just watch it, boy. Just go out there and pay up your $7 to $15 and watch Harambe finally get his revenge. Because, I can't end this video without a Harambe joke. Like and subscribe and, check out my other crap. Logan review coming like in a week or two. I don't know. My upload schedule is really bad because of the time change. I packed and I'm smiling. She did and she called and she lives for me. Says she lives for me, ovation. Oh, motivation. She comes right. He drinks a whiskey drink. He drinks a vodka drink. He drinks a lager drink. He drinks a cider drink. Goodbye.